Hello, welcome to another Shine Like a North Star live video. I'm Carrie Burchell and I'm so glad you've joined us. Gosh, today we're going to dive into some great strategies to deal with what a client of mine calls the silly season. So regardless of when you watch this is a holiday season and the silliness will perk its head up now more than ever. So let's think about, in general, Black Friday. I'd love to see some comments from you. Are you a Black Friday shopper or not? Type in a yes if you are. And you there in Black Friday are going to see way more of the silly season than in a lot of other places. I'm originally from Canada and we don't have Black Friday per se. It's not a day off for most of us. But I know lots of Canadians scoop in on those deals, and they too are taking days off for Black Friday. And that's where the silly season really kicks into gear. So why communication during the silly season? We know that people's behavior sometimes goes a little bit off the rails. It's like a good stress and a bad stress during the holiday season. We have the sad stuff of, people having experienced more deaths seem to happen. There's the mental health stuff that rears its head. And then there's just like the craziness on top of all of the regular life that we just try to fit in with Thanksgiving and Hanukkah and Christmas and other holidays. Just makes it silly. People just become silly. So let's talk through a little bit of my background and how it is I come to help people through things like communicating and silly seasons. I am Carrie Burchell. I am the proud owner of North Star Coaching, and I have had the privilege of working in 3 different countries. Maybe 6 cities in those countries in my professional career, almost 30 years of leadership. And just through that long journey, I've come to appreciate how people interact and what sort of translates between people when there's that disconnect. And I just have this uncanny ability of helping you and others hear some feedback that might be challenging and process that so that we really show up our best. So I offer leadership coaching, consulting, group work, presenting, team building, training, all of that good stuff. So that's what I do. And I'm going to help you today with some tips on how to communicate and really help redirect some of the silly behaviors you might see during peak times of stress, whether it's the silly season, as my client calls it, or other things. So let me just quickly share here my screen with you to be able to kind of capture some of this work. So we see really life is fast-paced on a good day. Like pandemic aside, silly season aside, we tend to have issues and throw in quick fixes, right? So even driving, if someone was crazy, we honk their horn at them, like fix the behavior. Maybe somebody at work is not showing up on time and we tell them, you better show up or else, right? It's hard for us to slow down and really say like bigger, deeper, getting at the root of things. We're certainly going through a national shortage of staffing, and we scramble to do the quick fixes of trying to get people in place. And of course, what does that cause for all of us? Some risk of burnout. We're not making progress because tomorrow when we try to get people to come into work, it's hard. So what we want to do during stressful times is to really slow down and get to the bottom of what the issue is. Now, obviously with staffing as a prime example, there's not a magic fix for that. I mean, it's impossible to go anywhere right now and not see help wanted signs. We can't control that. We can do a bunch of great marketing things and hire and create cultures and do good work. We need to really look at what is the high impact, high priority, get to the root of the opportunities in front of us, the root of how maybe what we offer changes so that we can actually come up with solutions that are sustainable. Sure enough, even though we put in great solutions, life's going to keep kicking us. That go fast pace that we live in, we want to slow down enough to figure out what is at the root of all of that communication, the stuff that we see, whether it's the interpersonal dynamics between people, whether it's something as big as staffing shortage. The fact is we need to slow down and get at the root, and that's really getting us at sustainable progress. So when we look at that kind of sustainable progress, it's really important to look at how we see issue fix coming up and sort of put words on some of that stuff to help connect with people to drill down into the bottom. So in the chats, I'd love to see from you, what are some issues that you see poking up? So I've given examples, everything from like traffic, easy, to more serious and really in so many ways out of our control, staffing shortages, right? High level example is something like the break room, always messy. Well, how do we create a structure that gets at why the staff room is messy and people sort of not giving a rip about how busy and messy and crazy dirty the staff rooms can get, right? Can be more serious, like having persistent conflict or just like a friction in a relationship that you have with somebody in your life. It is a silly season and we have more family time. Or even somebody at work, really slowing down to say, what's at the root of that? How is this person coming across to me? What creates some of that friction? And then how can I work through that so that I have a solution and not just an issue fix, issue fix, issue fix, right? If I'm having friction with somebody, a fix might be, I'm just not going to take my break at the same time as them. I'm just not going to say stuff when we're in the meeting together because they always shut me down. Those are fixes. And they're not going to help us with sustainable solutions in doing some of that stuff. So you chatted in looking at some of the issues that we're seeing, right? It's silly season. Issues poke up more during holiday time for a lot of ironic reasons. So one thing is to really put words on what is the issue, right? Perfect. So the second thing that we want to look at is really slowing down that spin that we just referenced. So if we look back at this sustainable solutions, right? This upward mobility of making progress, then you'll see that it really takes us slowing down in that spin and doing some reflection and owning what the root cause is, and then thinking through how you can help that. So let's think through this from some really key strategies that I would love you to really embrace as you think through this. So there are 3 degrees of active listening that I really want to share with you, and I'm just going to share my screen here in a second, because active listening is what I say the hardest soft skill in leadership. I mean, I train groups of people that are, this is foreign, industries where we're more transactional and tasky related, to slow down and really look at what is that transformational kind of dialogue that we need to improve our culture, be better problem solvers, be more engaged. So here's the nugget of it right here. So active listening, if we think about degrees, and it's not that any degree is better than the other, but really comes in 3 different forms. One is repeating, one is paraphrasing, one is reflecting. So let me talk through what that can look like for you. So repeating is literally verbatim copying the other person's words. So if my partner comes home today from work and I'm trying to be a good active listener, that would be awesome. And he says, gosh, I got slammed at work today because blah, blah, blah happened. My repeating, actively listening would be, you got slammed at work. So I'm literally using their exact same words. Now, what's the win of this? Because it feels, as an active listener, maybe even condescending or robotic, like not really listening. It's powerful because my partner is going to hear, I got slammed. Whew. Yeah, actually, it was a nasty day. Or maybe he's hearing, yeah, I got slammed and I worked through all of it, and it brings him to like the next part of his story on how he was like proud of rocking it. So by putting in the exact same word as people are using, it helps the other person hear themselves. So lose that kind of awkwardness that you feel when you actively listen. So I'm going to challenge you right now in the comments, chime in on, give me an example of something that I've said that you can repeat. So that's like literally verbatim, any kind of tip or thing. So active listening, let me highlight some of the key points so far. Active listening has 3 degrees. I want to see someone type in there, active listening has 3 degrees. It is awkward for the listener when you repeat, and that's okay. It is not awkward feeling for the person talking because they hear themselves. Gosh, how often do we actually get to hear ourselves? Not very. All right, you're getting the gist of that one. Let's go to the next level, paraphrasing. And when I go to the next level, I'm not saying that a level is better or less effective, right? These are just 3 degrees of active listening, 3 levels, if you will. None of them are better or less. They're just 3 different ways that you can do active listening. So paraphrasing would be, my partner comes home and says, wow, I got slammed today. Paraphrasing would be, wow, it sounds like you were really busy, right? I'm not using the exact same words, but I'm saying what I'm hearing in my own words, right? I might also say like, man, sounded like you really had to pony up. That's one of my personal Carrie-isms. All right, so pony up is like, you had to really bring it on in a busy day, right? Paraphrasing is just, I hear you. This is what I heard you say. What's interesting about paraphrasing and the last one of reflecting is that sometimes you put it in your own words and it's actually not what the person said, right? So my partner might say, yeah, I got slammed today. Carrie might say, oh, it sounds like you really had to pony up. And he might say, actually, it wasn't really anything I had to do. It was just a lot of tasky stuff. So my active listening of paraphrasing was not accurate. That's okay. It got my partner talking more, hypothetically. So the whole point of active listening and why it's so powerful is that it helps other people slow down their spin so they can get at the root of what's going on for them. And when we get at the root, that's when solutions start happening and real problem solving can come into play. So I've done this kind of active listening work with teams, and one person will kind of bring up a challenge, and as the facilitator of some of that teamwork, slowing the group down to say, hang on a second, I'm facilitating. I want to make sure I understand everyone. Can someone else say what Sarah said in your own words? Or can someone else say what Molly said or what Jeffrey said in your own words? And I kind of make the group actively listen to each other. Try it out if you're in a position of leading meetings. Real power in slowing individuals or groups down so they get to the bottom of the spin of what they're really saying. Because most of the time, we live in the issue fix, issue fix, issue fix, issue fix, that fast-paced world that keeps us on this plateau without progress and change. And as we discussed, the risk is burnout, fatigue, overwhelm, quitting your job, not feeling happy. All things we want to avoid. So try this active listening. The first one is repeating. The second one is paraphrasing. And let's go back to this document here for a quick second. The third one is reflecting. So that's sometimes where my partner might come home and say, wow, I got slammed today. I'm grabbing what he said, not only thinking through it in my own world, but putting myself in his shoes and reflecting. I might say something like, man, that's 3 days in a row that you've come home and just talked about how slammed you were at work. I'm reflecting the impact of what he just said in a bigger context. So that's the reflecting part. Reflecting is, I've heard you and I'm applying it to the bigger context of what's happening. So reflecting is powerful because sometimes it, as the listener, gives you a chance to helicopter up and you sort of see stuff from this broader perspective that the person talking here in the forest can't see. And so you're hearing what the person in the forest said, you're helicoptering up and you're offering a context because you reflected on their words with the vantage point of helicoptering up and you're seeing it from the forest, right? My partner gets every other weekend off. He's on call quite a bit, right? So if he came home saying like, oh my, I got slammed today, I might say, oh, and we're like not even halfway through your stint of working for a couple weeks straight, right? I might go, oh, the sympathy and the empathy from me, like, come home tired and you know you have a long stretch to go. That's the reflecting part. And then we can move into more of the conversation around what do we do with what we've just heard you say. But first is letting people feel heard. That is the only way to really slow the spin down. Now, just because I say active listening or paraphrasing or repeating does not mean that my partner wants to engage in slowing down, right? So not everybody does. The real value is identifying those people that do want to slow down their spin, because that tells you they're open to figuring out the root of whatever they're spinning around and finding solutions. Identifying the root cause, finding solutions to helping them move forward. So there's some magic in that. Let's dive in a little more deeply to that. First of all, I want to hear from you. What degree, I'm going to poke it up here again for you. What degree of active listening do you think that you probably use the most in your casual conversations or professional conversations? Would you say it's repeating, paraphrasing, or reflecting? Throw it in the comment. I would love to see that. All right. The next piece is thinking through active listening, and this is going to stretch you, to the non-verbals. Actively listening between the lines. So this is a real powerful strategy that takes some skill. I'd love to coach you on refining this, or watch you in action and give you some feedback. So what it means is looking at people. For example, let's say you're leading a meeting and it's a bit of a contentious topic, or maybe you're trying to get people to collaborate and everyone's vying for their own agenda and it's just messy. If you actively listen to the nonverbals or between the lines, you might say, we've been meeting for 15 minutes and we don't have one point that we have agreed on yet. It's a fact. Listen to the nonverbals. In a meeting, you might say, maybe ask for feedback around something that's going on and it's silent. You might, as a facilitator, say, or you can even do this as a member in it. Wow, that was a long silence and we didn't say anything. You don't even have to fix it. You don't even have to own it. You don't even have to understand why it was a long silence. You're just actively listening to what's going on. I can guarantee you, if you are brave enough in a meeting to say, "Phew, that was a long silence," someone else is going to say, "Yeah, because we're not on the same page." Or, "Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say." Okay, now we're talking. Good. Thank you. Through talking, we can make some progress. So that's a powerful listen between the lines strategy. And I sort of challenge leaders to do this, as well as people participating in the conversation. Lean into it. So think of performance evaluation, for example, right? People might come in with a degree of apprehension. I can't think of any performance evaluation I've ever experienced where either as the one doing it or the one receiving the evaluation, there's some anxiety involved in that, right? So listening between the lines might be noticing somebody who sort of walks in and they have their arms closed, right? They're "Hey, how's it going?" "Good, good." "Hey, this is going to be a casual conversation. I just see your arms are folded. How are you feeling about the conversation?" Actively listen to stuff between the lines. I think of sometimes when I'm coaching people, really identifying some of those nonverbals is powerful for the coachee, because they don't know, like they're not conscious yet of how much they're wrestling with something, but their nonverbals are a big tell. And so if I can help them see their nonverbals, then they can just lean into putting words on what is so big. Like sometimes people start biting their nails, sometimes they really take meticulous notes. Like when you take every single word down, it tells me that you're sort of dodging the discussion that might need to happen. We joke, I used to be a middle school teacher, we joke in school that the kid who goes to sharpen their pencil 18 times in a math lesson, they have some anxiety about math. That would have been me. Yeah, they don't get the mechanical pencils. They try to do the old-fashioned, HB2? Anyway, so look for the nonverbals, and it will position you to help the other person to slow down their spin. When we slow down our spin, we identify the root cause, and that really becomes the catalyst for some of the problem solving and engagement that we want to see. really difficult skill. Like, we think we're all good listeners. We know that we're never really heard. I was coaching somebody recently, and this person talked about leaving a new leader's office and just said, like, I just didn't feel heard. And I thought, oh, what a missed opportunity. Kind of new relationship between two people, and they have one of their initial conversations of just getting the work done, dealing with the spin, and somebody leaves feeling, I wasn't heard. Breaks down trust, really depletes the progress that group or two people could make together. So if you're stuck on active listening, let me pull this up again. It's completely appropriate to just repeat. It feels awkward. It's valuable, right? Depending on the circumstance, any one of these degrees is completely appropriate. One is not better than the other, right? So just lean into that work. So powerful. So my call for all of you is that I'm doing a 2-part workshop series on how to have really difficult conversations, crucial conversations. Message me. Find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, carrieburchell.com for information about this. It's $59, sale right now. If you catch, by the end of December, let's get you in. That's 2021, depending on when you're seeing this. I'd love you to be a part of this. And rest assured that even if you're in the 2022 and on year, there will be crucial conversation workshops to come, because that is a skill that we all can improve on. Even me, and I've been teaching the class for years. All right. Listen, over and out. Happy holidays. Stay safe. And we will see you next week for Shine Like a North Star.